2, 3, 4. Yeah, when you're feeling down and motivated in the midweek, we got the guys here to make your life complete. Little John, Brandon, Cody, Carly, they're coming in to keep you motivated all week. New episode, same time every week. Don't gotta wait long for the next one to release. So don't go away, sit down, take a seat, enjoy Midweek Motivation with John and Carly. Hey.
Midweek Motivation.
Let's go!
Hey, let's go. What's going on, Midweek Motivation crew? Welcome. Hey, first at the top, I want to just go ahead and welcome my two special guests today. I think it's first time on the show. I told him I was going to do that too, and he didn't even catch on. Carly and Brandon, and I realized this today. I realized I am hosting the two OG Midweek Motivation crew members.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because this started with like a folding table and you two.
Well,
And a phone.
Yeah.
I think it maybe
Right-
was
right
just some
there.
chairs with a bucket on top of it or something. Who knows what it was? Some handheld microphones, and
Yeah.
we'd talk real loud.
No, it was horrible quality.
We need to bring out some of those episodes and
Think we had
send them
a-
out.
I think we had a selfie stick tied to the table we were sitting at so we could get the camera right. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so
wild.
obviously we've moved on a little bit and great things. It's great to have both of you guys back. Carly's been out doing bigger and better things and
I don't know about
being
all that.
famous and doing all those things. I mean, he speaks at national conferences and he was in D.C.
Yeah.
visiting the nation's capital last week, but
Biden forgot about me.
Yeah.
though.
yeah.
Just to let y'all know, I had to walk through a metal
Great.
detector
Now
before
we're
I
gonna
came
get
in here.
canceled.
And, I mean, Secret Service right outside the door for Carly.
Yep.
It's
Brandon
crazy.
was out protecting high-profile individuals that he can't disclose.
I'm getting ready to hire your company, by the way.
Is Beyonce good? She and Jay doing
Beyonce
all
is
right?
good.
She's good.
I mean, that's not good on Instagram. it's just,
you're-
it's
look,
just me.
If you're watching us on Instagram, I'm sorry. It's not my fault. We're trying something new.
It is literally
just me.
Brandon and our laptop.
It's just me.
Hey, we're here, I promise.
What more could you want?
I was wondering why I was put in the middle.
Look, if this is your first time joining us, make sure you jump in our group as a text conversation. You can always jump in if you need a little motivation, need somebody to pray for you. You can text the word motivate to 540-900-3838. Jump in that. I didn't even make the joke, Carly. I didn't even say it. I resisted the urge.
It was there. It was there.
I resisted the urge. I didn't do it.
We made a group decision to start have Darren talk about that now.
Hannah just texted and said, "Look at Brandon."
It's nuts.
Let's see. This is why we
Don't
put you in
go
the
to
middle.
Instagram.
We had a feeling.
Hopefully that one is just Hannah.
Just look, do this for me. If
There's
you're
a
on
Molly J
Instagram,
on there.
if you're on Instagram, screenshot that for us and then text it to our number that's on the screen because I want all of those.
Yeah,
Oh man.
Maybe we can make a meme out of it.
How can I fix that?
we could. I don't know.
There's probably a way,
Yeah.
but you know, it's a
We're,
way.
we're trying.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's a lot of things been going on around Parkway past couple weeks. It's been a good April. And
April?
April.
Oh man.
It was April.
Well, it was.
It was a good April.
It was a good April. Yep. And
Not
now
it is.
it's May.
It's May.
It's
May.
May. And I can't tell you how many times I was thinking this morning, I thought, how can I put that meme in the show somehow? And it didn't happen, but
I
you know,
saw
it's
one
all in your
yesterday.
heads.
I saw one yesterday. And it was just a picture of me. He said, "You know what tomorrow is?"
If you're a millennial, if you were born anywhere from, 1980 to like 2000 or so, you know what we're talking about. I'm not going to get into it. Brandon,
Somebody in
were
Instagram.
you a secret NSYNC fan, Brandon?
98 degrees.
Or were you a Backstreet fan?
Nah, he was 98 degrees.
98 degrees. You were
No,
one of
I
those
was-
people.
I didn't mind NSYNC.
New Kids on the
I
Block.
didn't mind it. I'm not
Boys
that
to
old.
Men.
I'm not that old. Come on, man.
Oh man. Hey, we
Man.
actually got some people watching. Josh Wegman. Yeah, I'm sorry, Josh. I'm horrible with names. I said I'm sorry. You guys got to put up with Brandon. He said you should be sorry. I promise next week. Next week
I'm
we'll
telling
try
you.
to put the host, the one who's doing the most talking, in the middle. If that's what we're
Right.
gonna do.
Yeah,
I
that
am
seems
feeling the love today
that seems fair.
from you guys and the people out there. Come on.
Well, we are feeling the love from Benny and Michelle, which, interestingly enough, were on the show last week. They killed it. Benny showed up with his purple KCA Crocs, which
I'm
I
still
told Courtney
mad
I
that they
need a
didn't
pair.
sit back to back.
That was the first joke we made when they walked in. Like,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna have to have you guys sit back to back. They were I won't say blowing off work, but they were fortunate enough to come in and spend a little bit of time with us. And we gave them the full treatment. We were on the stage with the real lights and all the cameras and everything. So we rolled out the red carpet when special guests come into town. You guys,
Yeah.
you guys just get the studio, no big deal. But we were like 3 weeks deep of like special guests on the show.
Yeah, well, Brandon did a couple of episodes down there from the
Yeah.
stage, a
Yeah.
life group episode, and
Did
then
The camp.
NTS recap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
NTS camp,
Brandon
yep.
got to do that. So don't feel too special, man.
Right?
hey, that was actually my
That-
idea.
Right?
Man.
I said, how can
Well, it
we
was
get
a
it done
great
on the
idea.
stage?
It was a great idea.
But-
Last week was a good show. We had a good time with KCA. You can go check that out. I'm particularly partial to my wife on the show. She did a great job, and she made everybody cry, so that was great. You're always doing a good job if you make people cry on TV, so
Yeah.
that's always a good move. John Brunk says it's been a great year at Parkway, and it has.
Man, it has.
It's been a real great
More to come.
year.
Right? A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good things been happening. A couple things coming up. Number one is the Walk for Life happening this Saturday. That's why I did that.
This Sunday.
This Sunday,
Wait,
which you can check out right here on the screen if you check that out. Look at that.
Look at
how
What?
fancy we are.
what
Man.
is
I know, right?
what is the date this Saturday?
It is
Yeah.
May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
You say that again? You got a little something going on there. Yes, this Saturday,
man.
May the 4th be with you.
Y'all pray for us.
I'm disappointed I won't be there. I get to go. I'm disappointed, but also excited. I get to go to North Carolina to a wedding for one of my former students in North Carolina, and they're huge Star Wars fans. So they're having a Star Wars themed wedding.
Awesome.
So Courtney and I are taking lightsabers. I'm gonna be wearing a Star Wars tie. It's gonna be a good
Let's
time,
go.
right? So that's gonna be a good time. I'm looking
Speaking
forward
of
to that.
KCA,
A seamless transition. I love that.
I don't think
I see how you got
they
that.
probably can't hear it. Can they? All the kids?
Yeah.
Oh, down there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I wasn't sure where you're going there.
Yeah.
Speaking of KCA, I looked down at the notes like,
I was confused.
Just
I
heard
wasn't
all
sure
the
how we were
kids
getting
coming
there.
through.
bro, I'm not seeing anything about KCA.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. But speaking of the Walk for Life, put on by the Blue Ridge Women's Center, great organization here in Roanoke, supporting families, not
man.
just women. But overall, if you look down here, you can go to supportbowc.org.
Is that testimony on their page?
Probably somewhere.
I'm gonna see if I can find
If you
that.
look
real
around
quick.
enough.
The testimony that we had shared on Sunday. Y'all hear KCA? I love it, man. I get what you're saying now, man.
Now we're on the same page.
completely
While you're looking
missed
that
it
up,
earlier.
I will tell you, so the Walk for Life is happening this Saturday, May the 4th. And I was looking at their page this morning, and you can look at this really cool thermometer they've got going on there. They're 91% of their funds raised.
Wow.
So how cool would it be if you were a part of that last 9%? Give any amount. I'm sure they won't say no, right? Especially if it's got like, 6 figures to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they won't say no to that. But check them out. Great organization doing a lot of great things for the Valley, supporting women, men, and really entire families to not just choose life, but then also how do I, support my child, right? And I've made a wise decision, right, to support life, but then how do I support that child? So they hook you up with diapers. They've got a whole closet, whole
love
thing.
it. Yeah.
Great time. If you want to learn
I-
more about it, call them. I'm sure they'd be happy.
I love how they work because it's like, hey, a lot of us can say, hey, support life, but
Right.
after that,
Right.
you still have that outlet there. I
Right.
think that's really cool. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's something that's a little different. Where there's this idea that the pregnancy centers and places like that, and conservatives don't care, and Christians don't care about supporting life. Just preventing abortions and that's not what we're about.
No.
Right? We're the people like at the Blue Ridge Women's Center, people at Love Life, those kind of organizations were about helping you walk through that, not just make one wise decision.
Yeah,
So,
I just put the link for testimony that was shared Sunday. If you missed that, super powerful. Caitlin's testimony is unreal. I'm not going to share her whole story. Might be worth having her on the show one day, man.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's a great story.
Just a story of redemption, of healing, of freedom, and man, just good stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of Sunday, Sunday was a good day.
Sunday was a good day.
It's always a good day in worship here at Parkway, but Sunday was a good day. Man, it was one of those moments where you could feel the Spirit all throughout the room. I mean, even back here in the booth, we could feel it. That's a good time. I won't say that doesn't happen every Sunday because I'm sure it does, but I mean that was one of those unmistakable, like stake in the ground. This is going to be a day that we remember. So
no doubt.
Yeah, I had lunch with Dustin yesterday, and he said, "Man, we got to think about this before I go up on stage." He's like, "It's not good to cry before you go up on stage."
we do intentionally plan stuff that's going to make Dustin cry.
Yeah,
so,
look, I was cracking up a little bit because he got up there and I thought about making a joke later, and I haven't. I wish he would be watching right now. He gets there, he's like, I've done cried and everything. Now let's have fun. And I'm like, what are you saying about worship? You saying it wasn't fun? Come on, man. Just because you ain't on the stage, worship can't be fun?
Right?
And I think that may have been the first sermon in history that said Cheetos 148 times.
Man, it's crazy.
Okay, back me up here because I said this in our planning meetings and it got completely ignored. I won't even say I got shot down. It got ignored, hardcore, right? So he talked about chocolate milk, right? He talked about Philly cheesesteak, and he talked about Cheetos. How much better would those illustrations have landed if he had been eating the Cheetos on stage, right? Or he had been eating the steak sandwich right there on stage, right? If you're sitting in the congregation and you smell a cheesesteak,
Yeah.
how much more is that going to land?
Well, have you had lunch with Dustin before?
I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably
What
why.
more Dustin example is there than that?
Right?
And we're going to keep talking about Dustin because Dustin doesn't ever watch this.
Yeah.
But
Why-
he
why
confessed
should-
that to me one time. I was disappointed.
Well, hey, look, he came up to me Sunday and he put his arm around me. He was like, "Dude, your message last week was great." I was like, "Man, you didn't watch it. You watched worship and turned it off." I like giving him a hard time. And then he gave my points, and so I believe that either he read the notes or he actually did watch.
Yeah. Speaking of meat, there's an event coming up.
Meat.
You know, like that seamless transition.
Yeah.
There's an event coming
The
up
meat.
in 2 weeks, right? May the 11th.
Yeah.
Meat on the Mountain. This will be my first Meat on the Mountain. I didn't get to come last year.
You are
That's
in
good.
for a treat.
You got that right.
Brandon, you want to tell us a little bit more about what's going
so
on?
Meet on the Mountain is Saturday, May the 11th, 5 to 8.
So excited.
We have tons and tons pulled pork barbecue. We've got chicken quarters. We've got sausages. Our women's ministry get together, make all the sides.
And they
So we'll
do
have
it.
mac and cheese, green beans, desserts galore. On top of that, we've got giveaways. Working on something kind of a special giveaway for the hunters this year.
Can you give us a sneak
so-
preview, or is it a surprise?
It's a surprise, kind of, because it's not 100% official yet, but I think it's going to happen.
If it was official, then
Yeah,
we would tell you.
I would tell
Right.
you. Yeah. So the hunters out there are gonna love it. So come get your raffle tickets. We've got golf passes, baseball tickets, coolers, just all kinds of cool stuff for men. We get on the yard out here out front. We line trucks up, drop the tailgates, and we have a huge cornhole tournament.
Nice.
Yeah. It's good
And
stuff.
we give customized cornhole boards away to the winner. I think last year we had like 80% of people that came were in the cornhole tournament.
Oh, wow.
It
It's-
was fun, man.
It's a random draw for teams. We noticed a couple guys who were good at cornhole brought their buddies up here,
Yeah.
and then they were like, "Dang it!" Because they
And you know what? I didn't end up getting one of those buddies that was good. And boy, did I need it.
So
I
it's
was
so
shooting
much
air balls.
fun. We've got Pastor John's doing the opening prayer and blessing. Then we've
That'd be
got
great.
a special guest doing our talk,
Yeah.
I guess,
Pretty-
sermon.
Pretty
I mean, from
exciting.
this guy, it's probably going to feel like a sermon.
Yeah. Is it a surprise or can we say it?
It's Sheriff Hash.
Yes.
He's been on the show.
Oh,
if you guys
man.
have watched.
Straight up preached on the
So,
show.
yeah,
He's a good dude.
you know, he's going to get up and talk about the importance of men.
Yeah, I just put in the chat
and the role of the
link where you
family
guys
and-
can get a little more information and register, by the way. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, the registration is, where do they go? ParkwayRoanoke.com /
Meet on the Mountain.
Meet on the Mountain. It's $20 a ticket, and then $35 if you want to buy two. Like I said, we'll have raffle giveaways, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, when you register, make sure you check the box if you're wanting to play cornhole, because that helps us a ton
Yeah, it does help
in
us a
being
ton.
ready.
Yeah,
And that was one of the things that kind of held the line up last year.
yeah, but you know, I think we learned a little bit from
Yeah,
last year.
last
We'll
year was
probably
the
make
first
we'll probably make some mistakes again this year, but you know. So with
Yeah.
that being said, that's why I kind of put Lincoln in charge of all that kind of stuff, because
Yeah.
he's used to our system and all that type of stuff. So
Hey,
it's going to be a really, really good time.
Aren't we going to have a table or something set up in the lobby this week? Am I
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
This Sunday, we're going to have a table set up with a
samples
QR
of
code.
meat, right?
Yeah, I tried.
Brisket
I tried.
samples.
That is not completely out
Okay.
yet.
All right.
It's
That'd be
going to
cool, man.
depend on our meat guy. If
Yeah.
he's got time to make us some samples this week. But I'm
That'd be
telling
cool.
you, there was multiple people that came up to me last year and said, "Hey, this guy needs to start his own business."
Oh, no
making
doubt.
meat."
Yeah.
Oh, it was
No doubt.
so good.
Listen, them
So good.
cowboy beans,
Oh yeah,
bro. I could just hang out and eat them all day,
dude. I
It's
mean,
a good thing we do this show at lunchtime.
right?
I
I'm getting
almost
hungry.
took that pan last year and just
I'm telling you, I would have licked the pan.
turned it up.
Man,
But it's going to be a fantastic time. A lot of good fellowship.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so much positive feedback last year that we had to do it again. And
Yeah.
you know, a lot of churches around the area do the wild game dinner. You know,
yeah, and we contemplated that.
we wanted to be a little different, and you know, it was Cody's brother. We were in a meeting one day, and he's like, "Meet on the mountain."
And we were
I'm
like,
"That's
yes,
it.
That's it.
yes.
That's the
and
one.
and it stuck.
Yeah, so good.
Awesome.
Speaking of Cody says, "What's up, brethren?" Cody is off working today.
Cody,
I think it's
He's doing this weird thing called a job
think
that
it's
some
an-
people have to
Cody
do.
don't know how to act. He's actually having to work now. just kidding, man. Just kidding.
Cody's a hard-working guy.
Cody don't do anything anymore extracurricular because he's got to actually work a little bit now. So.
Yeah. Oh, and Sean Witt says 3 of his favorite people. Talking about us.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw
How
that.
cool is that? Thanks, Sean. You're one of my
Yeah.
favorite people.
I love Sean.
Sean's doing a lot of help with the.
Oh,
with the Meet
yeah,
on the
let's
Mountain. He's gonna be our MC again this year. Giving
Oh,
away
yeah.
the prizes
Listen, man,
and.
Sean, I don't know a better MC. I don't care what you
Oh
say.
yeah.
I don't
Talk
know.
about living in your element.
Yeah,
I told him, I was like, "You gonna do the MCing again this year?" He's like, I was like, "Dude, there's nobody better
Yeah.
than you. You've
Yeah,
got to do it.
How do you get a job as a professional MC? I want to know how to do that.
If anybody
How
could,
great would that be?
Sean
Yeah,
could.
it'd
right?
be Sean.
Sean could.
There's
we
got to
got
be somebody.
we've got a live band.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be a
that
bluegrass
was,
band.
that was pretty cool
It
last year
was,
too.
You know, whether you like bluegrass or not, I mean, it's cool just to hear that kind of music in the background while everything's going on. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
That's
good.
pretty solid. But
And
yeah,
we-
make sure you check out Meet on the Mountain. If you haven't got your tickets yet, definitely do that
Hey, I
sooner rather than
encourage you,
later.
Do the $35 one, and invite somebody. Bring somebody with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give that ticket away to anybody.
We had some guys last year who were coming by themselves and bought the $35
Yeah.
ones and said, "Hey, if somebody can't afford it, give it to them."
Yeah.
You know, which was really cool.
That's
And we ended up with what 100 plus. It
yeah.
was like 100, maybe I think approaching 120.
Yeah, it was.
And
yeah.
we were expecting like 40. I mean, we had meat for,
Oh, we
for
had-
everybody.
We had plenty
I mean,
of food,
yeah.
but man, it was just so cool to see them up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
But yeah, the other thing that's coming up, so make sure you don't miss Meet on the Mountain. You guys are killing me. Other things coming up, closely related to Meet on the Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Scheduled on purpose, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Mother's Day. Mother's Day,
The day
Sunday, May the 12th, the day after. So
That was the only day we could make it work.
eat a bunch
all
of
right?
meat.
Eat the meat, then go get your your
Celebrate
Mother's
your wife,
Day
your
gift
mother.
or whatever.
Men, if you're coming to meet on the mountain, you got to do a little something extra special
Yeah.
for the mother in
Yeah.
your life the next day.
Yeah.
So pre-plan it before. Leave your house at like 3. Stop by Kroger, get some flowers.
Yeah, you know
some
what
candy,
you know what
whatever.
I'm waiting on Steffi to be like, hey, the Saturday before Father's Day, we got this women's event. We're doing.
Yeah, that's the funny thing too. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, but we asked the women's ministry to make the side dishes for meat on the mountain.
Right. Right before. I mean, it's
Y'all don't have to
before
cook
Mother's
on.
Day.
Yeah, there's a reason it's called. I'm not going to go there.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, Mother's Day is May the 12th.
Stop
So,
myself.
gentlemen, don't forget, you need to get something. You got to do
Yeah.
something. Card, flowers, candy, right? You can't go wrong. Do one or all 3 of those things,
Yeah.
plus a little bit more. You know, that's always a good thing.
Don't expect to win like the golf raffle and give it to your wife for Mother's Day. Get
Yeah, I don't think
something
that's gonna
just
win.
in case.
I
probably
think
should've thought
next
about
week's
that.
episode is going to be sponsored by Sherry's Berries.
1-800-Flowers.
Yeah.
Oh man. All
Well,
right.
anyways, we're here to
20
talk about
minutes-
something
yeah,
else
yeah,
today.
We're 20 minutes in.
Let's get into the meat here.
Thought we were done talking about the meat.
The meat of the episode.
I mean-
That's what I was going.
Oh, y'all.
What a professional show. Anyways, what I want to talk
Darren's
about
not gonna
today.
ask us back,
he-
Carly.
here's where, I'm going to have to not bring these special guests on the show ever again. Good heavens. Man, you guys are a little too much.
Where's Megan when we need her to reel us back in?
It's a little too much silly songs with Larry and not enough.
There it is.
Not enough junior asparagus
There
like
it is.
focus. That's 2, by the way, if you're counting. Cody, I hope you're counting at home. We'll get there. Anyways, here's what we're going to talk about today. Here's our motivation. Here's what we plan. This is not just a commercial, right? We want to motivate you a little bit. Something cool happened here on Friday at KCA. So
Oh, man.
last week, KCA, we did Spiritual Emphasis Week. We had 3 days of chapel, and I will tell you, the first 2 days, it's high schoolers at 8 o'clock in the morning, so you can imagine kind of what that's like, right?
Yeah.
And probably even a little bit on Friday. So, we had a cool couple weeks. You know, great speakers, good response to the messages as well. Good response in worship, and Friday ended up being a little special day. We brought in some extra special people. Carly and Hannah were leading chapel that day, and the cool thing I'll tell you this, and maybe you guys know this, maybe you didn't, but cool thing about KCA Spiritual Emphasis Week is we have the seniors planted every year, right? They're in charge of it. They decide who they want to come, who they want to lead worship, you know, how they want it to go, right? So we're over in the Overlook Room. Right, which is a spiritual experience in itself.
Yeah,
right,
no
worshiping in that
Amen.
room. And we've got, you know, probably 65, 70 middle and high school students. And, you know, we had chapel in there on Friday. And Hannah led worship, which was awesome. You know, hear the students singing. And then Carly, should we tell them what it was called, or is that going to
I'm shocked you ain't got the image ready.
I missed that. Carly, first of all, Carly walked up to Sir Mix-a-Lot.
I don't think they got it, though.
They didn't get it at all. It was
did
the worst
not-
version of it I could have
It
played.
did not click.
It didn't click at
Of course,
all.
we couldn't play the lyrics.
I still think there's a little bit that we could have played, and,
Yeah.
and it would have gone all right. But
Probably not.
Carly preached this message called, you want to tell them? I'll let you say it.
You got a big butt.
You got a big butt. Right?
One T, though.
One T.
One T.
One
One
T.
T.
And I'm going to tell you, you saw this. They were about dead during the first half of the message.
yeah.
They came alive when they heard that title.
Yeah.
And they were, I'll give them props. They were a little too respectful when they first heard it. Like, they weren't
Yeah.
sure if it was okay to laugh.
There was a lot of like side eyes, like, is this guy serious?
Did he just say that?
Mm-hmm.
And then from the rest of the time, anytime I said butt, like,
There was giggling.
yeah.
It was good. It took them a little while to warm up, but you warmed them up. They were good. But the cool thing about that is at the end of the message, we had about 10 to 12 students that either made first time or recommitments to
Yeah.
Christ, right?
Praise the
Made
Lord.
decisions. Cool thing is, you know, that's the thing. A lot of people don't expect that in a Christian school all the time,
Yeah.
right? They expect everybody, you know, loves Jesus and you're good followers of Christ. And a lot of times that's true, but not always, right?
Yeah. You know, one of the cool parts about that I love, and I even talked about it in Equip last week, is there were several that didn't make that commitment during chapel.
Mm-hmm.
Like conversations continue to happen all throughout the rest of the day. And it in the cafe, I had just ran to Kroger and picked up some stuff, and I was putting it in the cafe, and one of the girls comes running and says, "Hey, can you please come pray with us? I got my friend in here," and I'm not going to share names, but went in there and talked, and man, this girl was like right there.
Yeah.
And we prayed, and she made that commitment
Mm.
right there in the cafe.
Mhm.
I mean, like an hour and a half after chapel had happened, and then Courtney texted me several hours later, and it's like, man, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Hours after
Yeah.
the service, man, that's what we want to see.
Yeah. I think it's cool to see because you think of people committing their life, in a sermon like what you were doing or on a Sunday morning inside the sanctuary or overlook room. But to hear that, like, hey, this girl made a commitment inside the cafe
Yeah.
or, this commitment happened in a classroom or, to me, I think that's so cool and special and just let you know how the Lord's working.
Yeah,
inside of
we
these
had that a few
walls,
weeks
man.
ago
cool.
with a guy, a newer individual at the church. I think Dustin had preached, maybe. I could be wrong, but on Tuesday, the guy comes out here and meets with Glenn and makes a commitment.
Yeah.
Tuesday following the message.
That's cool.
Like, man, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like the Holy Spirit works more than between 9 and
Right.
noon on Sundays.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Who
Yeah.
knew? Right.
It's a 24/7, 365 job.
Right.
Or 366.
And he knows it. Yeah, depending on what.
Yeah.
Is it a 366 year?
I don't know.
It's a 4, so probably. Let's say yes. Put in the chat if you're still paying attention to this. If whether or not it's a leap year, Brandon needs to
I'm
know.
pretty sure.
They're like, when are y'all going to get to the meat of it?
Right? Oh, we're hitting it right now. The cool thing about that is not only are these students, a lot of these students, they've been at KCA for a little while.
Yeah.
But a lot of these students, there was a whole row full of students that have been a part of our middle school ministry with Pastor Austin for the past several months.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about something I hadn't thought about for a long time. But there are moments of impact in our life, right? So every person, and I'm finding more of them as I get older, right? It turns out you have more of them the longer you live. But there's who knew? There's
Makes
moments of impact, like significant moments where they may not always feel significant, right? All the time. And I was thinking about that when that happened that Friday, like, this is a moment for these kids, right? But I started wondering how many more of these moments have these kids had that have brought them to this moment right here, right? Because a lot of these kids, they've been in church, they've been a part of our Parkway student ministry. What were those moments like? So I'm going to throw it to you guys. I'm curious. Is there any of those moments that you can think of, right? So before you met Christ, is there any of those moments or anything significant that happened to you that was like, I can look back and see now that was pushing me towards Christ?
Well, I mean, for me, it was always my grandmother growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, Mama's house.
Mama's
that's
house,
the
man.
place to be.
Yeah.
Great,
I love that.
Great song too, by the way. Download it. But like when me and my wife started dating too, she was heavy into the church, and I wasn't. And just seeing the pure joy from her that she got, I was like, I want that. How do I get that?
Yeah.
And she'd come back and tell me about stuff that happened to her on that Sunday or whatever, and those. I mean, it just got everything clicking for me. So
we were kind of talking about this in very similar in our Sunday life group. Man, some of the best moments was seeing my grandma. Like, soap operas would be on the TV, no doubt. Like, if they were on, they were on. But she, all the time, Bible open, just reading. My granddaddy as well, Bible open, just reading. And it was those kind of things that, looking back, I'm like, man, how did you do that? Like, just if they were sitting down, they were reading the Bible.
Right.
And that was just groundbreaking to me.
Yeah. So it's not always about trying to find the words to say to somebody.
Yeah.
A lot of, your actions have a lot to do with it.
Yep.
So I mean, for me, I can't pinpoint a specific conversation, but
Yeah.
it's just actions from
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah, and
happened.
the people that you've been around, the influences in your life, the places you've been,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things. And Carly and I were talking about this a little bit last night, and I was guessing right. I had this illustration has been in my mind for years, and I couldn't remember for the longest time. But we both think it's from Ed Stetzer, so
I'm pretty
we're just
certain.
going to agree it's from Ed
Yeah.
Stetzer. If we're wrong, prove us wrong. It's
Ed,
fine.
if you are watching, and this is
And it's good,
Ed
so
ain't
we'll
watching.
attribute it to him. But if it's not his, we apologize. It's
Yeah.
our fault. But
either way, Ed Stetzer's got some really good stuff. So
it's good stuff. You should check it out. But he had this illustration years ago of a number line.
Yeah.
Right. And I just so happen to have a number line right here. Look at that. What are the odds of that?
oh man,
You guys are
Man,
nerds.
it's amazing what
Again.
just
Yeah, we're nerds.
pops up. I won't tell you how long it actually it didn't take that long to put that one up there. It was
Yeah.
pretty good.
it would have
But
taken me a while.
But Ed talks about people meet Jesus kind of like a number line, right? That's how people come to faith in Jesus and grow in faith in Christ. So that 0 point, I was going to say imagine a number line, but luckily you don't have to imagine,
Right.
Right? It's right there in front of you.
Right in front. Of you.
So that point where people meet Jesus, right? They ask him to forgive them their sins and start living for Christ is that 0 point. Right, so everybody you meet, and every single one of us, is somewhere on that number line.
Yeah.
Right now, this one goes only goes to 10 to both sides. But interestingly enough, what's cool about that? Every single person you meet is on that number line somewhere, and you're on that number line somewhere. But every experience you have, right, could be super spiritual, could be only semi-spiritual. Right, it moves you along that number line.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that I came across this when I was a youth pastor in North Carolina, and there is one of the most frustrating things about being a youth pastor, right? I'm going to tell you right now. The youth pastors support me for this, right? Carly, back me up. When you're a youth pastor and you preach to these kids, you preach all year long, right? You love these kids. You talk to them through stuff, play video games, you take them out to movies, all these things. You build a relationship with these kids, right? And they don't make any, there
Yeah.
doesn't feel like there's
Yeah.
any spiritual impact happening, right? And then you go to camp, right?
Yeah.
And you bring in this speaker, right? No shade to camp speakers. One of my good buddies is a camp speaker. He's great at it, right? But without fail, that's the time that kid chooses to put his faith in Jesus or
And,
recommit to Jesus.
A lot of times it's the same thing you've been telling
It's
them.
the same dang thing we've been saying
Yeah.
forever,
And
right?
I'm like, why you listen to him and not me? You don't even know him.
100%. And they always say this, back me up if they said this to you. I just never heard it put that way before.
I'm like, bro, I just preached the whole sermon series on it.
The thing of it is, I tell my kids to stop doing something. They keep on doing it. They don't pay
Right.
no attention to me. But if Carly came in there and was like, "Hey, kids, y'all stop," they'd be like, So
Yeah, but the cool thing about that is
It's a true
at
statement.
some point, this is where they kind of helped me understand what my role was in ministry a little bit more. Is it's not my job to put them at a 0,
Yeah.
right? It's my job to move them to the right of that number line,
Yeah.
right? And anything that I'm doing, and that's not just for youth pastors. That's if you're a follower of Jesus, like we have a responsibility to move people along that number line.
Yeah.
And just like those students that we'd send to camp and like, man, now they're at a 0. Well, where were they when we met them?
Yeah.
Right? They might have been at a -8 when we met them.
Yeah.
But then that influence and your influence in their life might have moved them all the way to a -2. And then
Yeah.
that camp experience, that's what the Holy Spirit uses to push them over the edge, right?
Man, I just had
Absolutely.
a thought that's not in these notes. I'm just thinking about that guy that used to be in your youth group.
Mm-hmm.
And was that the one that was baptized?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Years ago, middle school ministry,
Mm-hmm.
you moved him along the line, and then he went to California, to Texas, and now is back in the area
Mhm.
and was baptized this past Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a prime example
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
moving them along the line, and
Yep.
years later, there's the fruits of the labor. And a lot of times we don't get to experience that.
Yeah.
You're lucky. He's back in the area, and you got to witness some of the fruits of you moving him along that line that's on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. That's the neatest thing. And I think it's so cool. That's the way that God tends to work, right?
Yeah.
It's not always these, huge, impactful moments, right? So,
Yeah.
like, we're really fortunate, right? We're really blessed here at Parkway, especially over the past, really the past 5-6 months. We've seen a lot of people come to know Jesus in our services, especially on Sunday mornings, on Wednesday nights with our students.
Yeah.
People are coming to know Jesus, which is great, and they're making these big public commitments. But think about think about what it took for them to get to that point.
Yeah.
Right. So think about this. So imagine there's somebody named Cody, right? Just imagine. Not that we know anybody named Cody, but imagine there's somebody named Cody, right? Let's say he's got, a few kids. 4? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say he's 4. Let's say he's got 4 kids. Just some imaginary guy named Cody.
This is sounding pretty real life to me.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's completely made up off the top of my head. Let's say he and his family are living in, let's say he's around that -6 range.
Yeah.
Right. And then let's say he meets some guy randomly, maybe a guy named Brandon. Right. There's not many people out there named Brandon, but let's say there is one.
Sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah. What's his last name? Les.
Last.
Oh, mercy. You got the same last name, dude.
Oh, it's been a great show, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Take your prayer request now.
Appreciate that. But let's say he meets this guy named Brandon, right? And Brandon invites him to an event called Candyland, right? He comes and he experiences the love at a place like Parkway.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what moves him up that number line. Maybe it takes him to a number 2 or number 3, something like that, right? Then he brings his kids back and they come back on a Sunday morning, right? And he hears the message, doesn't respond to it, but maybe that takes him to like a -1, right? Maybe a few weeks later down the road, he's having a conversation with a coworker, and maybe then right there, right, there's a moment where he chooses to accept Christ,
Yeah.
right? All of that starts with an invitation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things start with a conversation. I was fortunate enough to work at a place in the corporate world for like 5 years. And I was able to build a whole lot of relationships, right? And I was able to share a lot of my faith and a lot of my life with people that I'm able to still maintain those relationships, right?
Yeah.
And I like to think, right, maybe just that relationship and those conversations we had when we probably should have been working, right? It's okay.
We are working.
Right? Those relationships and those conversations, right, are moving them closer,
Yeah.
right, to meeting Christ. So I thought that was so cool, and I love that example. And that's kind of after what happened on Friday at KCA. I thought that's kind of what we needed to focus on today. And I was telling Courtney about it, and she brought up this cool thing. And you see the arrows on the end of that? Now, my wife's a teacher, not a math teacher, so she threw this out to me. So she's not even a math teacher. It's true. Number lines are infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So I was telling her when I was walking her through it, it's like, there are people like Pastor John and my grandma that are like a +10, right? And she's like, well, number lines are infinite, right? So there's always another step you can take to get closer to Christ.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right? A little bit of scripture I wanted to throw at us, and there's not a scripture that's like, boom, exactly this, like jump on this number line, but
maybe in the Gen Z,
maybe
the Gen Z Bible. That's quite hilarious.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I honestly think we should probably hold a lot of this stuff over for next week, man. I don't want to breeze through it. This stuff is good.
Yeah,
I like
it
this.
is.
We can go back.
like
we got plenty of stuff to talk about. I want to share one verse with us
We can
before we move
absolutely do a
on.
part 2. It won't be the first
yeah.
time we've done that.
Part 76.
Philippians 4:5. This is, so I grew up in a Christian school, and this is one of those verses that stuck out to me and remembered that I memorized. I memorized in the King James, so I'm gonna read it in the NIV.
Yeah.
So this is one of those that just it gets missed a lot because it comes right before like a really often quoted passage, Philippians 4:6, and Philippians 4:5 says this way: "Let your gentleness be evident to all."
Man, I love that.
Right? So this is Paul talking to believers, talking to Christians, right? So he's gentleness, or there's I can't remember the word that's used in other translations, but you can look it up. It's Philippians 4:5. Let your gentleness be evident to all. And I had this thought, and so much of this was especially me as a youth pastor, always felt like, man, I got to get all these kids saved.
Yep.
Like every single one of them. And that's not the truth.
Right.
Right. So maybe that's your thought is, I need to get all my coworkers saved. I need to bring them all to Jesus. Well, you don't have to save everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
That's not your job.
The way that I say it in Equip, and this was sort of straight from God, is it's not our job to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
We introduce them to the one who can.
Yeah.
That's our job.
Yeah.
And as long as we're doing that, we're successful, and we're doing what God has called us to do. Pointing back to that scripture, let your gentleness be evident to all.
Mm-hmm.
I often say, like, people should know your heart and know that you are a believer and a follower of Christ
Mm-hmm.
before you say a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And that is good stuff.
Man, we are almost out of time.
I'm gonna end with one final quote that I don't want to save over till next week, which I had to look it up because I was pretty sure who it was.
It's a pretty good one.
It's a pretty good one. So, St. Francis, important dude, right? He always said it this way: preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words.
Mm.
If that's not a great way to encapsulate Philippians 4:5, I don't know what is.
Wow.
Right? So here's a question. We'll probably go back into this next week, but
Yeah.
here's something to think about and chew on. A little bit of steak to chew on for next week, right?
As you're getting ready for meat on the mountain.
And Mother's Day. And the walk for life.
Yeah.
But you can go walk for life, get a little slimmer, walking,
Because you're going to eat at meat on
and
the
then
mountain.
come for meat on the mountain, right?
You leave here hungry.
I'm going to tell you, not to derail here, but I don't think there was a moment during Meat on the Mountain that there wasn't someone at the table where the food was at.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the whole time, somebody was at that table getting
So the meat's good.
I think some people lost the cornhole tournament on purpose. Just like,
to go eat some more.
So I could
Yeah.
go get some more meat.
Sorry, I completely derailed us.
Before we close today, here's what I want you to think on. Here's what I want you to chew on is we talked about moments of impact. Hopefully, as we talked, you thought about moments of impact in your life, right, that have brought you closer to Christ, or maybe that brought you to that moment of choosing to follow Christ ultimately. So here's a question I want you to think on is, whose moment of impact can you be a part of? That's terrible English. That's awful grammar. My wife, if she's listening to this, is yelling at me right now, right? But whose moment of impact can you be a part of, right? So think about people in your story.
Huge.
Who was a moment of impact for you,
Yeah.
and who can you do that for,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So think about that this week as we close. I want to say thank you to my two special guests, Brandon and Carly, the Moore brothers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Another episode of Midweek Motivation. Not too shabby. We might have to have you guys back.
Yeah.
If I can get you on the schedule.
We'll see.
Such busy people, protecting Beyonce and visiting the nation's capital. Such a challenging thing to get these guys on the show, but I appreciate them. Thanks so much to all of you that watch every week. Share this with somebody. I say it every week, but make sure you share this message of hope with somebody.
Yeah.
You could be a part of somebody's moment of impact by sharing something like Midweek Motivation.
Man, let me share that. All right. Share. So Kelly, I got to say this quickly. Kelly, who's our production director on Sundays, she was talking about she never realized how deep our online ministry was.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that her daughter, who's been off at college, talked about how great of a message Dustin's first message was. So then her daughter shared it with one of her friends. Her friend then shared it with her mom. Her mom then shared it with someone else. That's 4 layers deep just from sharing. Again, you never know when you might be that moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Figured I'd share that. Shout out to Kelly. She doesn't always watch the show, but she does sometimes.
And the easiest thing too, I mean, hit that share button. Like if you're already watching it, like it costs you nothing. Simplest thing in the world. So again, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you tune in this week on Sunday at 9 and 10:30. We'd love to have you for church online, or if you're in Roanoke,
nothing like being in
just
the room.
show up. We'll let you in. We got a seat for you. I can tell you exactly how many chairs in that room, and I'm going to tell you there's room for you. So,
and if we got to bring extras, we'll bring extras.
We'll bring them out.
We've done it before.
We got plans. We got ways to do that. So thanks so much. God bless and have a great week.
See you.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, when you're feeling down and motivated in the midweek, we got the guys here to make your life complete. Little John, Brandon, Cody, Carly, they're coming in to keep you motivated all week. New episode, same time every week. Don't gotta wait long for the next one to release. So don't go away, sit down, take a seat, enjoy Midweek Motivation with John and Carly. Hey.
Midweek Motivation.